The unique thing about the LTL or mixed load environment is that the carrier has no control over the type of freight leaving a terminal and going to a particular destination. They are dependent on what their customers provide them with and must transport the freight quickly and safely through their distribution centers to the final destination.
Not even the depths of hell could have forged a diamond this special.
There's something that I want to bring to your attention, and I hope that you guys find this video very informational. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, but I'm going to try to go through some stuff with you guys. And this video is pertaining to anybody who is like a new motor carrier, and they're getting a lot of pushback from the shippers. So basically like the places that you guys can go and pick up the material from, and you deem it to be unsafe, but you're not really quite sure how to tell them, and or they give you a lot of pushback pertaining to your methods of the way you want it secured or the way that you think it should be properly secured. So I went online and I did some digging last night, because we too are having the same issue with certain shippers of ours. And I went online and I found this document called Load Securement and Packaging Methods to Reduce Risk of Damage and Personal Injury for Cargo Freight in Truck, Container, and Intermodal Shipments. So that's what it looks like. I will try to leave a link down below for you guys to click on it. I highly suggest that you print out the document, or you do your own research, but there's a lot of informational stuff in here. So to my understanding, it says that there are 3 previous documents, and this right here is probably like 15 pages long, with the last 3 pages being sources for where they got their information from. So to my understanding, this is the 4th installment of load safety and the like, you know. So I want, if you guys were to get your document and print it out, and if you wouldn't mind following along with me, there are some important notes that I do want to bring up to you guys. So if you can see here on the bottom, it is marked page 48. So if you guys can direct your attention to page 48. But for those of you who don't have the document in front of you, and or would just like to listen or, you know, follow along, we are going to start off in the section right after it says paint, doors, and windows. So I have some notes here, so I will go ahead and read them to you. And so it reads: carriers of all modes of transport, truck, rail, ship, and air, are faced daily with the challenge of optimizing the available space in the logistical vehicle with the largest number of shipping units that can be shipped without causing damage and compromising safety. This is sometimes a difficult task if the carrier does not truly comprehend the protective capabilities and the integrity of packages that have been placed in shipment with other packages from other shippers, all moving within the same vehicle. If the same applies if a shipper places packages of different sizes and weights inside a van or container that is to be moved by a carrier. The complexity increases as carriers develop intermodal transport solutions for their customers by using a combination of truck, rail, sea, and air modes efficiently deliver packaged products economically in the global environment while staying competitive. So basically, the summary for this is, and that pretty much is the summary in itself, but it basically talks about the everyday hassle that we deal with trying to move more than one shipment at a time, and those shipments have to be packaged and optimized for best best shipping practices, and also they also have to be efficient, in what they do. So that right there is basically the summary for that one. And if I can direct your attention to page 49, which is the next page, I do want to read a section from this. And like I said, I will try to leave all the links and stuff down in the description. So on page 49, we're going to start off on the second sentence, and it reads, "It is, however, the shipper's responsibility to develop packaging that meets the minimum requirements expected by the carrier based on the classification, if that is agreed in the bill of lading. Any variation or exemptions can affect the claims if damage or an accident occurs in transit." Let me just talk about that. So basically, we have situations where we pull up to a location and it's not safe and it's not up to par, and it says up to the carrier's specifications. So me being the carrier, or my driver being the carrier, or you guys being the carrier watching this video, or if you're a shipper, I'm not really sure, but if you are someone who is transporting material, then it is ultimately, the shipper's responsibility to make sure that it is safe for you, for the person transporting the goods. So then it reads, "In trying to understand how packaging is different loading materials can affect damage claims, 6 LTL motor carriers were surveyed and asked questions regarding their company's practices." LTL is, they talk about it here, less than truckload logistics, and less than truckload logistics. So basically, if you have like a mixed load, or if you don't always have a full truck where everything could be densely packed, then, which is something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, this would pertain to that. So these results have been discussed specific to different commodities in the previous papers. Proper loading methods, securement of load, blocking, and bracing, along with the packaging, play a very important role in not only preventing the damage to the product, but also facilitate in safe handling and stowing of the products for carriers. This study contains pictures from shipments that depict the type of freight and packaging that is commonly seen in LTL and mixed load environments, and discuss methods to reduce and enhance safety. So basically, that's saying that they have done other research and other papers pertaining to this, which I have yet to find as of the time of this video. And if I do find it, be rest assured that I will do another paper on this. I will do another read with you guys, so that if you guys don't understand it, I'll explain it to you to the best of my understanding and the best of my knowledge. I would like to direct your attention to Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations on page 49, and it reads, "The paper first outlines the Code of Federal Regulations 49, open parentheses, CFR 49, close parentheses, on transportation, which is the required law to be met by all carriers, their equipment, and operators operating truck trailers in the United States to move freight. In addition to these requirements of law, the shipping and packaging industry has developed industry-accepted standards and practices to enhance these minimum rules and regulations for handling and transportation of cargo or freight, and it should be known that the CFR 49 and other applicable regulations are the minimum required." So, for instance, if I pull up to a store, or if I pull up to a shipper's warehouse, and they try to give me, 8-foot sheetrock with only one strap securing it all, or no straps, or if I got 12-foot sheetrock and they're still trying to only give it to me with one strap, I have every right to refuse the load, because that is only the minimum, because technically you only need one securement device per 10 feet. But what this is saying is that that is only the minimum required. And per my safety and what I know to be best practice, is 2 bands on 8-footers, 1 strap for every 4 feet. That's the rule that I go by whenever I have any of my shippers giving me product. I always give them the rule 1 band for every 4 feet, and that's minimum. And you know, if it deems to be unsafe still, you know, we're gonna have to correct it when we get to that bridge. So it says here, shippers, carriers, and manufacturers of package systems should provide additional safe means based on new research and information available to them to improve safety and stability of loads during transportation to prevent damage and injury. The minimum required regulations are provided in section 393 of CFR 49, which is applicable to all commodities. Additional requirements for hazardous materials are described in section 171 through 180 with respect to inspection of cargo, securement devices, and systems. CFR section 392.9 covers the inspection of cargo, securement devices, and systems. Once I go online and I do my research and I'll pull those up, I'll be sure to make a video like that for you. So it says the driver may not operate a commercial motor vehicle, and motor carrier may not require or permit a driver to operate a commercial vehicle unless the commercial motor vehicle's cargo is properly distributed and adequately secured as specified in section 393.100 through 393.136 of this subchapter. The commercial motor vehicle's tailgate, tailboard, doors, tarps, spare tire, and other equipment used in its operation and the means of fastening the commercial motor vehicle's cargo are secured, and the commercial motor vehicle's cargo and any other objects does not obscure the driver's view ahead or to the right or left sides except for drivers or self-steered dollies, interfere with the free movement of his or her arms, legs, prevent his or her free and ready access to accessories required for emergencies, or prevent the free and ready exit of any person from the commercial motor vehicle's cab or driver's compartment. And there's some more stuff down here at the bottom, but I want to go over that with you. Basically what this says is that there's stuff that has to be in place for you to operate your vehicle safely. Now, when I pull up to a shipper, I don't expect my shipper to fully inspect my vehicle. I take all of that nonsense and let me stop. It's not nonsense. Safety is very important, but I take all of that responsibility, I should say, and the onus is on me. And the only thing I require any of my shippers to do is to package the product safely and securely so that me and my team, we can get it delivered from point A to point B without any issues or interruptions or product falling off of pallets or anything like that. So for those of you who are watching my videos who are not shippers and who are not carriers, and you're just the regular average person sitting at home watching this video, that's basically when you receive a box in the mail, whether it be Amazon, USPS, FedEx, whomever. You want your box to leave the warehouse or leave the person selling you the product and it arrive in the same condition, which means that if I were to have a box and it's getting shipped, the last thing you want is the box to be able to open and all your content spill out, or whatever the product is subject to, you know, damage, scrapes, dings, bends, whatever the case may be. So in the section 1 where it says the commercial motor vehicle's cargo is properly distributed and adequately secured as specified in section 393.100 through 393.136 of the subchapter, that goes for both carrier and shipper. So you want to make sure that as the person delivering the goods, that everything is inspected and that everything is secure for the person who is delivering the goods. So if you're the shipper, before it leaves your warehouse, it's your responsibility or their responsibility is to make sure that it is safe for the driver, safe for the general public or other motorists, safe for pedestrians, and safe for the customer. Because last thing you want is a box like this to be, you know, it's filled with, I don't know, let's say it has a bunch of like steel pipes or something in it, and then there's one metal band in the middle of it, and as soon as you go to drop it off at the customer's house and the customer's like standing behind it or something, and that one band snaps, it's going to leave a pretty nice mark or laceration on the customer, you know, because of all the handling. You always want to take extra precautions to do what it is that, you know, you need to do safely. So we are on page 49. We're going to read the last note here on the last sentence on page 49, and then we're going to continue to page 50, and it reads, "It should be noted that the driver of the truck is required to inspect the cargo and the devices used to secure the cargo within. The intent is to ensure that the cargo may not shift on or within or fall from the commercial motor vehicle. This paper will discuss various methods used to prevent loads from falling, as well as securement devices. However, the rules do not apply to the driver as stated, do not apply to the driver of a sealed commercial motor vehicle who has been ordered not to open it to inspect its cargo, or the driver of a commercial motor vehicle that has been loaded in a manner that makes inspection of its cargo impracticable." So then we're going to continue to page 51, and this one I found very, very important. If you have made it this far, you're not going to want to miss this. This is very juicy, good details that I found. So we are on page 51. We're going to begin with review of loaded trailers with mixed freight, which is what we do. So it reads, "The unique thing about the LTL or mixed load environment is that the carrier has no control over the type of freight leaving a terminal and going to a particular destination. They are dependent on what their customers provide them with and must transport the freight quickly and safely through their distribution centers to the final destination. Thus, they are faced with the challenge of loading various types of freight, which are all packaged differently together on one trailer, and then unloading it and reloading it with other freight. Depending on the route the freight must take. Time is a critical component, and anytime a dock worker has to handle the freight manually, time is lost." So basically what I get out of that, and my interpretation of this and my understanding of this, is that when we pull up to a shipper, when we pull up to a store, when we pull up to anybody that hired us to move goods for them, we are solely dependent on them to have the product ready, wrapped, bandaged, strapped, whatever you want to call it, for that particular item. Now, there are days that we pull up to certain locations, and you know, if we're not learning something new every day, then what are we actually doing? I said it in a previous video, and basically what I mean by that is that if we're not improving our methods, and you know, what would have been acceptable yesterday might not be acceptable today, because there's something that I could have learned yesterday, and I'm trying to learn from my mistakes and not have that happen again. And we're trying to advance and evolve our safety methods when it comes to the store or the shipper or anybody who hired us to move their freight. So for instance, let's say I pull up to a location and they give me a box with God knows what in it, because it's going to an Amazon customer. Okay, let's say they give me a box, and I'm used to it having, you know, 2 pieces of tape on the bottom, 2 pieces of tape on top. And then I noticed that this particular cardboard or something, or this particular packaging material, doesn't really hold up as well as the other ones. I might ask for 4 pieces of tape on the bottom and maybe 3 pieces of tape on top, because of previous bad experiences or something happened during the shipment or whatever, and I'm just trying to overprotect the material or the product inside of the box and further advance our shipping methods, so that our customer, which is the most important part to all of this, is customer satisfaction, that they get their product on time, undamaged, unscathed, and you know, it arrives the same way it left the person who sold it to them, or the manufacturer, or whatever have you. So pertaining back to this paragraph here, it says that, you know, we're constantly loading and offloading materials depending on where it's going, and we don't have control over anything that's on the truck the way it was given to us after we left the dock, basically. So it's very important that we take any safety methods and any safety precautions to make sure that this product is going to arrive at its final destination in one piece, and we don't injure ourselves or injure or kill anybody else on the road in doing so. So I want to take a little bit of time to emphasize on the last sentence here, which says, time is a critical component, and any time a dock worker has to handle the freight manually, time is lost. So basically, if we pull up to a location and the product isn't ready, and they don't have it ready prior to us arriving or at the time of arrival, and they have to manually go and fix the material to our, you know, to our criticism, or our constructive criticism, to prep the product better, we're sitting there waiting and time is lost, and we're basically wasting time. And, you know, we need to come together and basically come up with a method that works for everybody. You know, the shipper, the carrier, and the customer. So, because I know some customers, they get aggravated when, you know, the stuff is over protected, but you know what? There's some things we can't fix. So I like to continue to page 53, and then I think there's, now don't get me wrong, there's other great material in here that you should definitely read through on your own time. But if you leave a comment down below and you would like me to go through the entire docket of everything, I'll do so. But I just want to emphasize on another paragraph here on page 53. If you'll direct your attention to page 53, on the right hand column, third paragraph down, it starts with the words load stabilization, and it reads, load stabilization devices in unitized/palletized load include steel or plastic banding, corner posts, tie sheets, plastic film stretch or shrink wrap that is properly wound around the load on a pallet, or slip sheet, glues and adhesive, and netting and web products. The selection of a specific type or combination of load stabilization methods can be determined by conducting pre-shipment tests using ISTA, and ASTM methods. Now, what are those methods? I would have to go and look into those and pull it up, and if you guys want more on that, I'll be sure to include it. But now, I like to give credit where credit is due, and with that being said, I would like to thank everyone who had a participation in this, with all the sources and all the research that went into it. So I want to thank these individuals here on this document for publishing and releasing to the public, for people like you and me, the viewer. So I said it in a previous video, I think this is awesome content. I do encourage everybody to go online, print it out, and read over it yourself. Make sure that you watch my other 3 or 4 previous videos pertaining to this document because I did go over some very good content in this. Now, I don't want you to skip over anything, but I do want you to pay very close attention to the sections that I specifically mentioned, because they are worth noting, and they pertain a lot to they have a lot to do with what we specialize in, and not everyone is acclimated or understand what it is that we deal with and the challenges that we face every day. So I explained to my team, like my hired help for my box truck team, that it is very, very important that we communicate our concerns to the store that we are picking up the freight from, express any concerns, be transparent, show them proof. You know, if you have any concerns, okay, I had this X, Y, and Z happen last week, let's prevent that again this week. I see we have very similar material. If we can do X, Y, and Z to prevent that from happening again, you know, it is greatly appreciated. Not only is it greatly appreciated, but by law, you know, this document and the FMCSA guidelines, we don't have to take any unsafe product and freight because we're putting lives at risk. So in one of the sections that I mentioned in a previous video, it does talk about that it is, you know, the driver who is solely responsible for the product. So if once we leave that dock, we are 100% accountable and responsible for anything that happens to that freight prior to after leaving the dock. So it's very important that you know, if you are a shipper, if you're a carrier, whomever, it's very important that you take the time out to reach out to your team, and team meaning the people that you work every day with, the drivers. You know, every driver may be different because every driver experiences different things, you know, whereas one driver could be okay with no straps, you know, no straps securing shingles to a pallet, whereas I would like 2 straps on a pallet of shingles, holding it to and securing it to a pallet, because every driver experiences different things and every driver has their own interpretation of what safety is. There's no specific guideline unless, you know, you get together as a company with the company that you're working with to get the product moved safely to the customer, to basically come up with some type of plan and a standardized solution to whatever common occurrences or common problems that you guys have. I did mention in a previous video, let's say you were delivering an Amazon box, you notice that this one particular size box is a little bit more flimsier than the other, and you notice that they always put 2 strips of tape on the bottom of the box. You know, it wouldn't take anything other than a little extra shipping cost, because not shipping but packaging cost, to put another 7 cents worth of tape on the back. I'm not saying that's how much it costs, but for, you know, to entertain the thought, so to put 3 strips on the back of the page, the back of the box, and an extra strip on the top, it would just make it that much more safer, and the box would have that much more integrity to get the product to the customer in its intended purpose, or in its intended way. So I do encourage anybody who has any questions about this. Again, this document is called Load Securement and Packaging Methods to Reduce Risk of Damage and Personal Injury for Cargo Freight in Truck, Container, and Intermodal Shipments. So I highly recommend that if anybody has any questions pertaining to any subjects or any paragraphs that I mentioned in a previous video, to leave a question down below. I would do my best to answer your questions to the best of my knowledge, and if not, we will tackle the problem together. I can maybe reach out to DOT and figure out what we can do to better understand what it is that the paper is in reference to, or you know, maybe reach out to a bigger company such as USPS or FedEx or whomever to see what their safety guidelines are, so that way if we can apply those to what it is that we do, it just makes us that much more safer. But until next time, guys, I do appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna have some more safety videos and stuff like that coming out for you guys, but please, I encourage you guys to go download this. I'm gonna try to leave the link down in the description. Download it, print it, keep it in your truck at all times, keep it in your vehicle. If you are not a shipper, if you are not a handler, if you are not a cargo personnel, I still suggest that, and you're just a regular average viewer, I suggest you go ahead and look this up yourself and see what kind of scrutiny that us commercial and professional drivers are under, and the stresses that we are under each and every day. Until next time, guys, I do appreciate you guys watching. I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you.